Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Coaching from the Couch. This is your Washington Commanders update. And I am your host, CWall, checking in as I do each and every single week to give you the latest and greatest information and happenings with the Washington Commanders. So, Commanders fans, jump on in the conversation, jump on in the chat. We have a lot to discuss. The Washington Commanders lose to the Seattle Seahawks. Now what? That's how we titled this. The Commanders lose to Seattle. Now what? Now what are we gonna do? Now what are we gonna talk about? What's going on? But before we get into that, we have to play a game that we play each and every single episode, and that is what's your one word. Now I did a little bit of this earlier right after the game. I was like, y'all, tell me what you're thinking, Commanders fans. Tell me what you are thinking. Tell me how you're feeling. And so folks are already dropping their comments, which I'm going to share some of those with you all. But my godmom has jumped in. Say hello to Godmama Julia. We call her Aunt Sis. She said she's so sad. She just so sad. Cameron Mingo says that he is crushed. Lamar Bland, one word is coaching. John Adams has said good evening to everybody. And look, Godmom already done pop back in. She said they were cheating. So, I see this comment here from Brian Bigham about Sam Howell and his progression so far this season. You all listen. That's why I said, now what? Okay, they lost. Now what? Now what's happening? The Commanders they come up on 2 division games in a short week. The New York Giants and the Dallas Cowboys on Thanksgiving. But before we get there, we're going to have to really talk about a few things. And while I am sharing some of the comments that folks had on my post when I just said, Commanders fans, let me hear it. Right? Let me hear it in terms of what the issues are and how you're feeling. Drop in the chat because I'm interested in knowing just how shocked are you by this season so far? How shocked are you? I really want to know. And while you're doing that, I hear some comments that I got on my page, right? Theo Alexander, he had a few one words. He said he was devastated. He was depleted. Calvin Billy Booth said, I'm just so disgusted with this entire coaching staff. Sanaa said, well, they covered, meaning they covered the spread, in the world of sports betting. Hey, is it all a loss if you gambled and they covered the spread? Maybe not. But the sad part is, he says, I don't expect them to win. I just expect them to be competitive. And honestly, that participation trophy doesn't cut it anymore. Here's a couple of more comments from fans complimenting Sam, talking about the O-line and the run game. James Roundtree, he just tired. Saw a lot of feedback where fans were just like, I'm just tired. Right? If Tina Moore has jumped in, I saw her comment say, hey, they win one game, they get the fans all excited, and then they lose again. Eri said he was blown, but hey, we have a quarterback. He definitely said that. Good evening to Terrence Taylor as well. I think that exactly what Brian has in this chat is what I want to acknowledge. And if you've just joined and you're on from Facebook, hit that love button and you can still share this show with your Washington Commanders loving family and friends. And if you've tuned in from YouTube, hit the bell and drop a fire emoji so I know that you're here. You can still drop the link to your Washington Commanders loving family and friends into this live Bowie television recording so we can talk Washington Commanders. I've been saying it all summer. I'm shocked. I am. I'm shocked. I've already articulated that a lot, right? And I'm going to keep replaying the week. We said, okay, week 1, they won. I said, but if they play like that, they're not going to win much. Nope. No, they won't win much. Week 2, they ended up winning again. And I said, but you know what? If they're not able to play a complete game, if they're not able to play a full 60-minute football game, the way they played the 30-minute second half, guess what? They're not going to win much either. They're not going to win much with that tactic. Those 2 tactics, the comeback story is not going to happen. It's just not. Here we are. And I must say, the biggest surprise for me has been the defense. Now, let me say this. We know that Jack Del Rio, the defense has shown us we've seen this movie. We've watched this movie before. We've seen this movie. This isn't new information. This isn't new territory we're in. I think the challenge was, and I'm just going to keep bringing it up, okay, which is all you said you wanted was some ball hawking cornerbacks, and you went and got those in the first and second round. And then from an offense perspective, you continue to say, we're just a quarterback away. Am I imagining that those things happened and those things were said? I don't think so. Those things were said. So you got 2 ball hawking cornerbacks, and you got a quarterback. I mean, is because listen, and we're going to get into Coach Ron Rivera's press conference from today, the day after the game. Typically, when I'm at the game, we get the content, we're there. So it's like, okay, this is, we'll get the immediate reaction right after the game. Didn't necessarily get the immediate reaction because I said, you know what? My show script is done. And I'm just going to focus on the show for tomorrow. I will log into the Zoom and we'll get into the transcript of what Coach Rivera says the day after the game. And we're going to get through it. And I still want you all's reactions in the moment to what he said in that transcript. But I said the defense, this has got to be the defense's year. This has got to be their moment, right? We are, before any trades occurred, this has got to be the time. This has got to be their moment. And what we have seen so far is the same thing that we've seen for the last 3-4 years. And I'm going to bring up something else that I said. I've been saying it for years. And I said, I would hate for this to be true. Y'all ready for this one? Are y'all ready for this one? If you're just tuning in on Facebook, hit that love button. Still share with your Washington Commanders loving family and friends. If you're joining from YouTube, hit the bell because I'm about to remind you of something that I said, oh, I hope this isn't true. But I have a feeling. In the 2020 season, it was all this and that around the Washington Commanders defense, right? It was a lot of excitement. And then it was a few analysts, and even myself included, that says, I'm no mathematician, but when I do the math and I add it up, I am starting to feel like they seem to only have success against mediocre to not so good quarterbacks. Not really experiencing, and when I say success, I use that word loosely, very loose, right? Maybe they end up winning, is what I mean. But it only seems to happen a win against mediocre to not all that good quarterbacks. And I say we have to watch this closely Because if this turns out to be true, then the defense is not as good as everybody thinks they are. Let's please hope that that's not true. Drop it in the chat. What do you think? Have you seen enough? Is the proof right there in the pudding? Have you seen enough to make an educated guess at just how good or not so much is the defense? It's quite upsetting when you think about it, because I would say they got to be right there. They got to be right there. What we are seeing now is an offense that seems to be progressing further and faster than the defense. That's what we're watching. We're watching an offense and a quarterback that's getting better and a defense that's either stagnant or not really rising to the occasion. And I'm going to go back to something. I would say, going back to this comment here, and even in a schematic issue, that is it. Coach Rivera says something today, and I was actually happy to hear him say it, which is, we're only as good as our record indicates. Well, he said it, not me. Because there are some moments that if you are better, you would have been better. So this is upset. It becomes allow your expectations to be tempered accordingly. I said it at the beginning of the season. Now, hey, listen, take your time with the offense. I'm not telling, they got a new quarterback, got a new offensive coordinator, a new offensive line. They're new to each other is what I'm saying. They're new to one another. So that's what I mean. But you got a defense over here, a coordinator that has everybody he wants, has spoken, has kept this group together. His veterans are in place. And now we have seen a unit on the offensive side of the ball. Let me tell you something else that we saw in the offensive unit. Let's go ahead and talk about that for a minute. We're going to get into Coach Rivera's comments in this transcript. We've seen an offense that's made adjustments. Can somebody put in the chat adjustments? Now, we know that the running game and all that, we're going to talk about that in a minute. But when I say adjustments, I mean in terms of personnel. Okay. Nick Gates has not gotten his job back. Now, we do know that Sadiq Charles is dealing with an injury, and that's why Chris Paul came up. But that adjustment at center mattered. I'm going to tell you another adjustment that was made. And hey, even for myself, I was like, ooh, that hurts a little bit. Cole Turner isn't out there as much. And if you're paying attention to Coach Bieniemy's press conference last week, he said in a very kind way, and shout out to my colleague, David Harrison, for asking the question, in a very kind way. Yeah, tight end usage is going up. Cole Turner specifically going down. And he said in a nice way, he's got to know how to block. So the adjustment that's being made. Because as highly as I know, many of us think of Cole Turner, hey, as a tight end, you got to be able to block. Got to do better in the moment. He's not. That's an adjustment that was made that you may not even realize had been made. Say adjustments. They're making adjustments. To do what? Get better. All right. I'm going to tell you another adjustment. The running game has been struggling. There's been some challenges there. We knew that Antonio Gibson could be used as the pass catcher because of his experience as a receiver in college. We actually know that that's where he thrives, and this is what he's done. But using Brian Robinson as a pass catcher, woo! Now you got both of them as pass catchers. That looked good. That looked good. It looked great. AG and B-Rob, when the run game can't get stable, can't get going, use both of them as pass catchers. It's called an adjustment. That's on the offense. What adjustments have been made on defense? What adjustments have been made? Is anybody, please, and I'm being very honest, if you've seen an actual adjustment in order to get better, in order to prove that you have watched some film and want to alleviate some unfortunate situations, then please let me know what adjustments those were. Because we've seen, now we know who's watching the tape, who's trying to do things to get points on the scoreboard, to stop people from getting points on the scoreboard. Now we understand. Now we understand. So, and I'm going to say this to this comment, adjustments. There's plenty of weapons, and we've been saying that there's plenty of ball to go around. There's plenty of things to do. So when I'm trying to be creative, if I'm the offensive coordinator, then I'm going to do something that you're not anticipating me doing. And that's using my running backs as pass catchers. Doing something where it's like, okay, let's make this as easy as possible, that they're not looking for it. We know the guys are open and you can get down the field. That's just to try to make it is not easy, because none of it is easy. Let me be very clear. But because they have so many different options, it was 9 different people at one point. 9 different players ended up getting there, getting the ball. And I'm like, this is wild. That's just what it is, because they're pass happy, because Coach Bieniemy can be pass happy at times. My point is, what he's doing on offense, even if you're not using the run as much, here's a fact. We're watching the offense continuously try things and attempt things to get points on the board, to continue to progress, to kind of understand how Sam Howell can get better and what he's doing to be better. And we're actually seeing Sam be better and do better. What is the defense doing? And I'm talking about from the perspective of new folks, new offensive coordinator, new to the starting quarterback position in the NFL, new offensive line, still trying to gel and mesh, and you still making adjustments on the offensive line. You're still making adjustments to the weapons, to seeing who can do what and who's strong where. The defense got most of the same people embedded into a defensive scheme that the coordinator and head coach said they believe in. Where are the adjustments? This was a year where the defense had to match the capital that they supposed to be worth. And it's just not happening. It's not happening. It's not there. It's not there. I said this yesterday with my guys with Fox Sports 1340 AM Hopewell. And I've said this in other weeks. Because of the newness of the offense, if you have to, at this point in time, if you have to rely on Sam Howell and the offense to win the game for you, you are in trouble. You're in trouble. You're in trouble. Because they're still trying to figure it out. Still trying to figure it out. So if you have to rely on them to win the game, you got a problem. That means you understand that you got a defense that can't stop the opposing team offense from scoring. Can't get them off the field. And that's not good. Let's get into some of Coach Rivera's press conference. And while you're reading this, drop in the chat what you think about this. This is on what he thinks has been the cause of explosive plays on defense over the years. He said, I think a lot of it, when you look at it, goes to really a collective thing. And more than anything else, is guys doing the things that they need to do, us putting them in the position to have success. And it's unfortunate that we as a whole haven't done the things that we needed to do at the right time. It's difficult because we've had opportunities to win football games, and part of it is taking advantage of the takeaway battle. We've had Bulls that have been out there that we didn't finish up. We missed a couple of opportunities to have a couple of interceptions yesterday, and that was disappointing. And we've got to continue to battle and get better at it. I know this was about James Smith-Williams. Coach mentioned that they got in kind of early, so some of the guys were still coming in. He did not have an update, at least when we met on the Zoom, on James Smith-Williams. But here then his answer on his evaluation of what should have been done differently on defense. The biggest thing, more so than anything else, and I kind of felt it yesterday, and I got a chance to look at it and look at some of the numbers. We've got to be better on first and second down situations. We put ourselves in a couple of really good third down situations. We were able to convert and we held them, right? But there were some first and second down things we've got to get better at, and collectively, we have to be better overall. We're playing a number of different guys now, especially after last week, and there's some cohesion that has to come. Guys have got to come together and work together, and so it's a little bit of that more than it is anything. But again, it's a collective. We all have to be better. Now, let me pop out and see if there's anything in the chat. And I see a comment here about Sam Howell. And that was one of the comments that we talked about a lot. And what everybody saw at the last game last year. The last, it wasn't a fluke. It was not a fluke. The last game against Dallas last year, we knew the potential and all that could be there with Sam Howell. And he's showing that. He's absolutely showing that. But going back to Coach Rivera's comments on the defense, the thing about it is, this is the same storyline that we've been hearing for a long time now, for years. Is it not? It's the same story. It's the same thing. So why aren't we able to see at this point in time now, yes, there's some cohesion that needs to be there, and I'm going to go back to that in a moment. But typically, it's still the same people, right? There's still some continuity that is in fact there, and it's just interesting that you're still seeing the same issues. Now, my big brother Durbin, he is falling into the chat, right? He's sick and tired of the excuses. It's L after L. When does it stop? And when it becomes a tradition? Hey, listen, habits are hard to break. It is. Culture change is difficult. Culture change is hard. But I even still say, even with all of the energy and momentum around the new ownership and everything, you get there on game day and you're watching the games and it's more of the same. And in some instances, it's worse. It's worse. And we've seen some pretty bad football being played with this team, in the earlier weeks. And so to see Sam Howell, and one of the questions was around that, and we're going to go back to the questions, to see Sam Howell perform still at the level with all of the sacks, with the inconsistencies in the run game, or being virtually non-existent for a lot of the time, still trying to work out that balance between the run and the pass game. To see Sam Howell still from a numbers perspective, and then you look at how the game ends, it's like, how are you putting up all these numbers? If I was an analytics person, and I sometimes like to think that I am to a degree, it's Based on the numbers, find out where your issue is. Because the numbers should be able to tell you it's not Sam. And I still try to keep up with all of the games. And if it's one thing I always share with the audience, I always share, watch other teams play. If nothing else, always try to keep up with and watch your division opponents, right? Watch the division. So the Eagles, the Cowboys, the Giants, keep up with what's going on with them, but watch them play. And then I say that's number one. Number two is watch your opponents. So your regular season schedule, you definitely want to pay attention to the division and what they're doing, not just their record, not just their record. Go and watch their games. Take the time to watch their games. Then you also want to take a look at your opponent. So in this case, we already covered the division, right? You're going to watch the Giants. You're going to watch the Cowboys. The Eagles have already behind us, right? Because we already, played them twice. But then that means for the remainder, you have to keep your eyes on the Miami Dolphins, watching their games, the Miami Dolphins, the LA Rams, the San Francisco 49ers, the New York Jets. Okay. You got to watch those. Got to watch those teams. And when I say watch those teams, I'm talking about watch how they move. Watch in critical moments the clock management, the decisions that the coaches make. Watch what happens in 2-minute drills. Watch how they convert third downs, third and long, third and short. If they go for fourth and ones, pay attention to what they're doing and how they're doing it. And hey, no team wins every week. You got some teams get demolished one week, like the Seattle Seahawks did against the Ravens, and then they come back and they play much better. And then you got a Baltimore Ravens who demolished the Seattle Seahawks, but then they ended up losing, right, in the trenches against the Cleveland Browns. So things change week to week. But here's one thing that I will tell you for certain: when you watch other teams play, you will know or have a better sense of where your team really is, you all. It is always a blast to come and talk to you all, win or lose. I love talking to you all about this topic. I hope you all have enjoyed it as well. Again, if you tuned in late, this is from the Coaching from the Couch series. This is the Washington Commanders Update, a live Bowie television recording and discussion. The show comes on each and every single day on Verizon Channel 11 and Comcast Xfinity Channel 77 from 1:30 to 2:30 during the weekday. And then on the weekends, it comes on during the noon hour. And so I am your host, CWall. You all can catch me here. You can catch me online, and I will be back. So Thursday, we're doing the live discussion right here again on the weekly DMV Sports Update, giving you all of the latest, greatest information on all of the DMV sports. We just love talking about everything, and we love keeping you all in the know on what's happening. In terms of practices this week, I do absolutely plan to be on site in Ashburn, as I am each and every single week. Who knows which days? But the plan is to be there. And of course, I will be in the building for the Commanders taking on the New York Giants at FedEx Field. So you all stay locked in. There's still time to share this show with your Washington Commanders loving family and friends if you want to clue them in to what the conversation was about. Other than that, I will see you guys again soon.